Good day, everyone. My name is Devika Manish Kumar, and I'm a third-year student studying petroleum engineering. Last summer, I was an intern at Shell working out of New Orleans with the Deepwater Wells Group. It's a real privilege for me to speak here today because my internship experience at Shell was one of the most transformative and rewarding experiences that I've ever had. And I hope that as I share my experience working at Shell, it'll be evident why I think the UT Shell partnership is so important, especially because the partnership allows UT students like myself the opportunity to make a meaningful and far-reaching impact on the global energy industry. So I think it's important for me to first start about why working for Shell has been a dream of mine ever since I was in the 10th grade and contemplating what I wanted to do in my life. So it was very clear from day one that I wanted to work in an industry that served a purpose and fulfilled a need of society that was not specific to any region or any demographic. I came to the conclusion that energy empowering people's lives and their livelihoods was an industry so fundamental to everything else, and aside from healthcare and education, was probably one of the most important. So I wanted to work in the energy industry, but doing what? Now, I grew up in the generation of Al Gore's and Inconvenient Truth, and from an early age, in school I was taught that climate change and global warming were top priority issues, and everyone should be a caretaker for the environment. I remember these lessons particularly vividly in the backdrop of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill. By the time I had to choose my major for undergraduate studies, I'd begin to appreciate how important oil and gas was to meet our energy needs, so petroleum engineering was the logical choice. But I wanted to work for a company that would still be relevant in 50 and 100 years, and I wanted to work somewhere that understood the importance of being a leader in the energy transition. Before starting university, my dad suggested I watch a documentary about the oil and gas industry, so I had something to inspire me by. And the documentary I saw was a National Geographic documentary called Big, Bigger, and Biggest, where the filmmakers would look at some of the largest structures in the world and explore 5 engineering breakthroughs and innovations that made it possible to develop that structure. The documentary focused on Perdido, which is a Shell-operated and owned platform floating in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's the deepest oil platform in the world, reaching depths of 8,000 feet. And I think after I saw that documentary, I was sold. Not just because there was this company that was operating in the deepest places possible and constantly innovating, but because when the filmmakers were talking about the 5 breakthroughs in engineering, which were other older oil platforms that had paved the way for Perdido technically and technologically, 2 of the 5 were Shell platforms, Cognac and Auger. It was incredible to see that there was a company that could operate in some of the world's most challenging environments and yet could continuously push the limits of technology and what was thought to be possible. I remember the day that I got the call that I had been accepted into the Shell internship program. I couldn't stop smiling for another hour after that call, and I felt a sense of giddiness. Here I was going to work for a place that provided the world a very fundamental need, that pushed the limits of what was thought to be technologically possible, and that wanted to be a leader in the energy transition. So moving on to my internship, there's just 2 points that I want to highlight about my internship that made it stand out. The first being the people, and the second, the project that I got to work on. Now, going into the internship, I had a lot of fears and worries, namely, would everyone like me? Would I be able to deliver on this project that I had been given? And as a result, I think it made it more difficult for myself because I put these expectations and pressures on what I needed to do. Fortunately, I had numerous people that had my back who would continuously give me feedback and guidance and who would help me steer and stay in the right direction. It was their interest in my development, their encouragement, and the frank discussions that I had with them that helped me let go of my preconceived notions and worries. Instead of wondering, am I doing this right? I was encouraged to just ask, and ask from a wide range of people as possible. And secondly, my project. I was fortunate to receive the opportunity to work on a live project on a well that is currently being drilled in the Gulf of Mexico off the Olympus TLP platform. I had the opportunity to collaborate with multiple teams outside of my own and learn and incorporate the feedback and perspective from multiple people. When I look back, I don't ever remember feeling bored throughout the summer. I can probably count on one hand how many times I had to look at my phone because I was bored. And it's especially impressive considering that that was the World Cup summer. So I had a lot of opportunities to be distracted, but I, to be honest, cannot think of any instance where that was true. There was always something to do, whether it was working on my extremely engaging project, talk to someone about their career, or just attend meetings and learn more about the business. So in short, what I gained most from my internship was an incredible amount of guidance and mentorship given more than willingly, meaningful relationships with people that have lasted beyond the summer, and the satisfaction of working on an extremely engaging project with some of the brightest and kindest people that I have met. In the last few days of my internship, as I was preparing my final presentation, my mentor was sharing some of his experiences working as the original drilling engineer on Perdido, one of Shell's platform. It was the same Perdido, which was the subject of the National Geographic documentary that I had seen a couple years earlier, and I was just awestruck at how everything seemed to come to a full circle. I felt like it was a validation of my dream and a revalidation of all the reasons why I wanted to become a petroleum engineer. Because after 2 years of studying differential equations, you kind of forget why you signed up in the first place. So to me, the UT Shell partnership is about shared values, specifically the power of people and shared ideas to address the challenges of tomorrow and to ultimately improve people's lives. I really had a wonderful time last year as an intern, and I'm really excited to be going back. Thank you again for the opportunity to share my experience, and hook 'em.